Okay, so 15-13, crucial round for Carpe Noctem. Charles has finally gotten away from the pug calling and went for a very procedural mid take, and he's established very solid positions in the rotation spots for mid to be able to split A. But his mid take was so procedural that you can see here Regano is very aware of the potential of both a window and connector player being the splitters, as I guess you would say. And there's one smoke up on J Evan, which is obviously going to go towards CT because that's the only place that his players can't really effectively cover. And the reason these positions are so strong is because since they're pretty well aware that there's no aggression from the CTs on cat and they're playing passive site positions, it really isolates the player on site A, if there even was one, which there happens to not be in this case, but let's say there was a player under balcony or default or sandwich, they wouldn't really necessarily have any of their teammates available to trade because these rotation spots not only cut the jungle players off from being able to peek from stairs or under stairs or anything like that, but even stop them from being able to use equipment because of the threat of the connector split catching them out. So they have to have this player dedicated watching the rotation angles, which means that the A split, 3 players really only have to deal with 1 player on site. But what's integral for that to be the case is that these players don't peak until the ramp players get out towards sandwich and default and the angles where they're going to be able to be seen from jungle. And also because of the circumstances and the fact that they know that there's a double op, Casey has to be the first person to initiate. He needs to be the first person to jump up into window, because if the opper happens to be jungle in this case, he's probably going to be playing back towards window because that's just the common angle. He's not going to be playing somewhere out in the middle of the open in jungle where he has no options to fall back. So Casey has to be the first player to initiate once those circumstances are met. Charles only needs to be able to sit in connector and get the trade. One, if the player jungle happens to be looking at Casey, he can swing out and either get the trade immediately or establish position to kill him on the repeak. Or 2, if the player jungle happens to go stairs or just swing out wide in the open, he needs to be the one to get the trade, not initiate, because his position is so strong. And if the smoke goes CT, they need to have the player's jungle and window stay alive, because that's going to allow them to have a good cat plant or connector plant and have a good post plant, which means that they're almost guaranteed the round at this point just because of how the CTs have played so passively in conjunction with the strat that they've established. So really, the only 2 things that matter: Charles needs to be the trader in this case, Casey needs to initiate, and nothing needs to happen from either of the rotation players until the ramp exec players get out towards maybe sandwich or default, because that's when they start to get threatened by jungle, and when the jungle player has to not be able to just watch the rotations anymore. He needs to not let them get to site and just get a free plant. So, and obviously Charles, having done this procedural call, has to be aware of this. Otherwise, there's no reason he would have called this. So let's see how this round unfolds. Oh. Oh, Charles. Charles, what are you doing? Charles, why did you do that? Charles. Charles, you break my heart.